Hello and welcome to the Black Hat Bushcraft channel. I'm Matt Mercer and I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in for this video. And this afternoon I wanted to share with you guys a quick look at my belt pouch kit that I've been carrying into the woods for the last couple of months. I've put together some specific items that are really working well for me, and so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Let's take a look right now. Alright, so let's take a closer look at this Helikon Tex SERE pouch. And in my opinion, this is a perfect belt pouch. Sometimes belt pouches can be too big and thus the temptation to fill it up with a lot of junk that you shouldn't be carrying in a belt pouch, number one. And number two, sometimes they're too small so you can't carry the actual stuff that you need. For me, this is big enough, yet no extra space to fill up with fluff, so it's perfect. And they've also been very thoughtful in the design of this pouch. If we flip it over here, you'll see that it has a MOLLE system on it. So if you wanted to connect this to a backpack, you have all the attachments there that you can do that. Any MOLLE gear that you use, this will be compatible with that. But you also have a belt strap here, so if you like to carry your pouch high on the belt, you can do that. They've also been very generous to add a drop loop here, which I kind of prefer that to the high carry. So this way it'll hang below your belt, and that's very nicely done. But my favorite addition to this is they've added a belt strap here, and this can be removed as you prefer. So you have buckles here that you can take this strap completely off, and you can carry it in the bottom of the pouch or leave it home if you prefer. But this is the way that I've been carrying this pouch. And for me, I keep this with me in my truck at all times. And let's say I'm jumping out of my truck to run my trap line, or I'm just going to take a quick hike or something and I want to have some gear with me. I just connect this on my waist, and that way I have some essential kit with me without having to unbuckle my belt and put it on my belt. And then when I come back to my truck, I take it off when I'm going into the store, things like that. I just can easily take this on and off with the click of a buckle. Another thing is I use that for is sometimes I'll connect my knife here, so I can just easily disconnect this buckle, stick my knife sheath on here, and then buckle it back. And now if I'm going for a full day in the woods, obviously I wouldn't do that, but for just a quick outing for maybe a few minutes to run the trap line or something like that, and I want to have my knife with me, this allows me to do that if I choose to. As with all Helikon Tex gear, they've got nice Cardura fabric, and they also have YKK zippers, and these are shrink wrapped here with paracord pulls, and you have a two-way zipper. So if you are right-handed and you want to keep it on the right side so you can unzip this way, you can do that. If you're left, you can do it the opposite way. So I like that they've made it that way. And also you have here some paracord loops on the side, so if you want to connect a carabiner with your keys, I just have a homemade soft shackle there, but you can connect stuff on both sides of this pouch. So just a perfect exterior. I like the color. This is earth brown and clay, just in case you are curious about that. I prefer that option. For me, it just fits with my gear. Let's break into the pouch so you can take a look and see what gear I've chosen to include in this Helikon pouch. By the way, if you're enjoying the content that you see here on the Black Hat Bushcraft channel, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you haven't, ring the bell so you stay notified of all the upcoming videos when they're released. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you like this. It definitely helps our standing with YouTube and with the algorithm. Also, don't forget that down below in the description box are affiliate links. So if you're curious about a particular piece of gear that you see me using, most likely you can go down below at my affiliate links and find these items. If you just want to check them out or learn more about them, or if you so choose to support the channel by purchasing through those affiliate links, I do receive a small percentage of that sale at no additional cost to you. So I greatly appreciate your support. But if you just want to go and take a look, those links are there for you. Let's get back to the video. All right, so let's go ahead and break into this belt pouch and see what specific items I've chosen to include. First of all, when we open up the pouch, I have here, and you can see I've got this thing packed right up to the brim, but I have a Wazoo Survival tracking bandana. Now, it's trapping season, so I threw this in here because of trapping season. I did have just a plain bandana in here, but during trapping season, I like to carry this tracking one just in case I see a track I don't recognize. This thing's nice. It's got lots of different tracks on it. For the most part, I don't use it for that purpose. I just have it here as a bandana, but it's cool to have those things there. Also, I like Wazoo Survival. I like their gear, but I also like Dustin. He's a really good guy. He's been very generous, not only to myself, but to the Pathfinder crew. Around that bandana, I have here what is basically a little slap bracelet. And the reason I carry that is it's a nice ruler. So if I want to measure some tracks, or if I want to make a project and have some correct dimensions, this gives me something very exact that I can measure with. If you wanted to wear that on your wrist, you could. I don't do that, but I just use it to wrap around my bandana in my kit, and it keeps everything nice and neat. So Wazoo Survival Tracking Bandana. As you know, a cotton bandana can be used to pre-filter water. I've used it for that. It can be used to wrap around a wound, or use it to put pressure to stop bleeding. Whatever you need it for, you have it. Okay, so bandana is important kit I want always. Down inside here, I also have some cordage, and I'm always going to carry some hanks of paracord with me. It just is so convenient. And I have a couple of pieces here that are 7 foot approximately in length. Have them tied up with a bowline knot on one end. This particular pattern is kind of the one that I choose to use. This Atwood rope, I think it's Decoy is the pattern, but I always know my paracord. It looks different from everybody else's. If I want to lash a quick tripod, hang my pack from a tree with a toggle, whatever, I have some paracord that's pre-cut and ready to go. Just have a piece of bank line. It was a scrap left over from something I did in my last trip, and so I just threw it in there. All right, so down here in the bottom, I have just a little velour bag here with my light in it. And you gotta have a light if you're gonna be out past dark, and you never know when you are. And this is an Olight Baton 2. Now, I'm a huge proponent of a headlamp. I always want a headlamp. It's hands-free when you're moving around in the woods. If you're walking around, you don't want to have to point a flashlight. Wherever you look with a headlamp, there you see. That's where your illumination goes. But what I like about this light is it has this little clip on it, and it clips on the brim of my hat or cap. And I always have a hat with me when I'm in the outdoors, so this can just go right on the brim of whatever hat I'm wearing, and that becomes a headlamp. But it's nice having this little light if I'm up under the truck trying to inspect something or whatever, look at my tires, trying to put air in the tires, whatever it might be. This is a handy little light, and this thing is really bright. If you set it on the highest setting, sorry you guys, it's 1,000 lumens, but it also has this little moonlight setting, which I really like. You can probably hardly see that it's lit, and I use that one a lot around camp when I'm doing things. So just a perfect little light. This one is rechargeable, and I'm a big fan of it. So I keep it here in my belt pouch, and it served me well. All right, so now that I've cleared out the main compartment of this belt pouch, you can see here that there's 3 kind of tube style compartments there. And these work out perfect for me because, number one, I'm always going to be carrying some type of a cutting tool, and this is a Victorinox Huntsman, and this is a knife I've carried for years. I have a cutting tool, I have a saw, a pair of scissors, tweezers, toothpick, of course the corkscrew, the awl, just a lot of really useful tools. Pretty much everything on this knife gets used at some point with me. So Victorinox Huntsman is a smaller model, but it has everything I really need, so therefore perfect for this kit. I also have a lighter. Of course, that's one of the top things that needs to be in a belt kit, and this particular one is an Exotac Titan light. I'm a huge fan of this lighter because unlike a lot of other refillable lighters, this one does not evaporate fluid because it has the O-ring seals on the top and bottom. So just an awesome lighter, and kind of a Zippo style lighter, but just much improved. And I have just a little extra paracord there in case I need that. So a big fan of the Exotac Titan light, and of course no belt kit would be complete without one ferro rod. So I have the Exotac, I think this is the Nano or Nano XL, and the reason I chose this one, because it's light for this kit, which is good. I don't need a big heavy ferro rod in this kit, but it also has a little striker. Now that's not ideal, that little striker, but it works. I've lit quite a few fires using this little ferro rod, and it's functional with proper tinder. That's the key. If you prepare the proper tinder, then you can absolutely make this work. So that one I chose for this kit. All right, the last part down in this kit is this net or mesh zippered pouch. So let's open that up. Down in here, I have just a wet wipe. This one is an antibacterial wet wipe. So if I had a wound, I could clean it with this. It's not ideal, but I could use that until I could get to something better. Also, if I'm about to eat a meal and my hands are just really disgusting, I can wipe them off with this. I normally don't care about that type of thing, but it's nice to have just in case. I also have a child, so if my daughter is got dirty hands or something, this allows her to clean herself up. I also have in here some Advil. This is not a lot, but there has been many days where I was in the woods or out in the field and had a massive headache or back hurting and just be miserable. And something like this can take the edge off until you get to something better. And I like to keep this in my kit because it just sometimes comes in handy. I also have down in here just a basic compass, and this particular one is made by Sunto, and Sunto is my absolute trusted brand for compasses. I'm a big proponent of the MC2, which we use at the Pathfinder School, and that's just my personal favorite compass. It's never failed me, so obviously a Sunto makes sense to me. This one has a movable bezel so you can adjust your azimuths. This is no way as accurate as an MC2 would be with the sighting mirror on it, but for something to help you walk a straight line to get out of a stretch of woods, this can absolutely do that for you, and I found it to be very accurate for what it is. So I like having some way to navigate if I need to, or just tell basic cardinal directions. The last thing I have down in here is kind of cool. This is a vintage advertising sewing kit from Federal Savings. There's all kinds of different labels on these things if you find them. This would be an antique kit, but it has a little thimble here on it, so if I'm sewing something I have that thimble. And then there's a little wooden compartment down in here, a little capsule. You can see you've got some thread, white and black, and down inside of that we have some needles. I'm sure that stuff's hard to see on camera, but I have a couple of sewing needles, thread, a thimble, just what I would need to put a button back on if a button came off on my shirt or my kit, if I just needed to repair a basic rip or something like this. It's just kind of cool to have that there and be able to make those repairs in the field. Plus, it's just a small touch of vintage in a more modern kit. And if you guys know me or follow me, you know I like vintage stuff as much as possible. So that's it. I have something that I can cut with. I have a way to make fire, a couple of ways to make fire. Some basic provisions such as the cotton bandana, lighting, navigation, cordage. I really have a lot of the bases covered in just this simple belt pouch. It doesn't weigh much. It's not a burden to carry. And I notice I keep it with me at all times. I carry it with me during the day. It's just always there in case I want to strap it on my waist. I have that basic kit available to me. So one other small feature that I almost forgot to mention was right here where this drop belt loop is, there is a tube that passes through all the way out to the other side or the bottom of this pouch. It goes all the way through. So if you had a very narrow handled hatchet or something like that, you could fit that through a tomahawk, something like that. Or in this case, I just have my Silky Pocket Boy, and that actually is larger at this end, so it doesn't go all the way through, so I could easily carry something like that saw, or if I was carrying a Mora knife, something like that could easily fit down in here and wouldn't come out the other side. If you had a very narrow handled, like a tomahawk, that would probably come through, but otherwise you can carry an extra tool there if you choose to do so. I haven't done that just because I don't want a lot of weight on this, but it's there. It's a nice little feature in case you wanted to do so. All right, so I wanted to give you guys just a quick look at how this belt pouch wears. As you can see right now, I've got it on my hip and I have it attached with that waist belt that I showed you. It's not up here on my regular belt, which means it's hanging way low on my hip, which is nice because right now being a cooler season, I have a coat on and I hate when something like this is up under my coat. That's just miserable. So I like that it can hang down low like that. The other thing is if a belt pouch is attached to your belt, you can only move it so far because it's going to be between belt loops. Whereas with this system, I can adjust it wherever I want it to be. So when I'm walking through the woods, I'll turn this thing around to my backside so that I have a slimmer profile, less likely to snag on brush and briars and things like that. But when I want to get to my gear, I can turn it around here to the front and see what I'm actually grabbing out of the pouch. So I really like that adjustment. If I want to take it off, like once I'm in camp and I don't want to carry it anymore, or if I'm getting back in my truck, just buckle it behind my back just like that, and now I have my kit with me. If it's riding with me on the seat of my truck and I jump out for a few minutes, no big deal. I can just unbuckle that thing, attach, and get it just like I want it. And now I have all my kit with me just like that. Instead of having to carry a backpack or something like this, it's just nice being able to jump out of the truck and have that emergency kit with me when I'm going out on a trap line and things like that. So just a perfect little kit. It's working out well for me, and I thought I would share it with you guys. So this is a side-by-side look with my traditional leather belt pouch, which I handmade many years ago, and I've carried this thing in the field for years, and it's sort of just become the home for my flint and steel kit at this point. So now I'm using this more modern belt pouch with the Helikon here, and it's just a nice comparison between the traditional versus the modern and how they kind of compare and contrast. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Black Hat Bushcraft channel. I always appreciate your time, interest, and support. If you're not a subscriber of the channel, I hope you'll go ahead and click that subscribe button, ring that bell so that you stay notified of all of the new videos when they're released. If you haven't clicked the thumbs up, go ahead and do that. It definitely helps out the video and helps out the channel to grow with the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to talking to you with the next video again very soon. And until that one, be safe and God bless.